Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let me show you how to create links in your documents to other files on your Mac. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So one of the questions I get the most often is, can you create a link in a document, say a Pages document or a Numbers document, to another file? This could be useful in a number of situations, but unfortunately you can't do it. Here I am in Pages and I can select some text and then go to Format, Add Link, and you can see I can add a link to a web page, an email, so I can generate a new email to a specific recipient. I can do a phone number so I can call and FaceTime, or a bookmark inside the Pages document. But there isn't an option to link to another file. If you select Web Page, you get to enter a URL. And it seems like you should be able to use File and then :/ and then a path to a file, and that should work. But it doesn't. Another thing that doesn't really work very well is if you generate a link using a shared iCloud file, then that link usually opens up the file in the web app for Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, not actually in those apps on your Mac. So none of those are good options. It looks like there's really no way to do this. But I did find one solution that, while not perfect, will work. And that's to use shortcuts. In shortcuts you can create a new shortcut. And one of the things that you can do is open File. And you can select that action there. You can click here where it says File, and then you can select a file. So for instance, under Projects I can select this file here, Open, and if I run this shortcut it opens the file in Pages. So that works, but it has several problems. One problem is that it has to specify the exact file to open. So if you want to do this once, fine. But if you want to do this over and over again, or have a list of 10 files, you're going to have to create 10 different shortcuts, each one linking to the right file. And if you try to feed in a path to this instead of specifying an exact file, you run into all sorts of permissions problems. It won't work in the Documents folder for some reason, but only in a subfolder. It gets very complex and hard to deal with using Open. So instead of Open, we're going to do an alternative, and that's use a shell script. So there's Run Shell Script, and we'll add that. Now we'll replace the sample here simply with the terminal command Open. So this is just like running this in Terminal. And then inside of quotes here we're going to put a path to the file. Now it's actually quite easy to get the path. If we go into the Finder here and find the file we want, if we select it and then go to Edit, notice where it says Copy. If we hold down the Option key, notice it's Copy as Path Name. The keyboard shortcut is simply Option Command C. So I'll copy the path name. Now back here in the shortcut, right in between those quotes, I'll do Command V to paste. And you can see it gives me the complete path. If I run this, it will do the same thing. It's just using a slightly different technique. But the advantage is that each time we use it, we could feed something different into here. And we'll find that really useful in a minute. But before we do that, let's get this to work as a link inside the Pages document. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to rename this. And I'm going to just rename it Open File, but with no space. Now I'm going to quit Shortcuts. And here I'm going to go in this Pages document to this link. And I'm going to add the link. Remember, it was Format and then Add Link. And then we're going to do Web Page. Command K is a lot easier, so we'll use Command K. Now right away we've got a problem. This is for a link. We want to run a shortcut. Well, you can actually create a link that runs a shortcut. These are called URL schemes. And there are specific ones, like for instance mail : will open a new email message. You can do shortcuts and then : and then // and then run - shortcut and then question mark, name equals, and then put the name of your shortcut. So in this case it's Open File. So now we've added that as a link. When I click on it and then select Open Link, it's going to run shortcuts, and then shortcuts will then open that file. Now let's look closely at what happens again when I do this. Notice the Shortcuts app comes to the front. It actually launches shortcuts. So we can fix that by going into this shortcut here. And let's add Quit, and then we'll select Quit App. We'll then click Choose to choose the app and we'll choose Shortcuts. And now Shortcuts will still launch but it will quit right away. So I'll quit Shortcuts here and go back to this dock. Click here, open link. Shortcuts runs but quits immediately. So this is where it's not ideal. It'd be great if Shortcuts didn't appear there for a second, but at least it goes away really quickly and we just have the document that we wanted. Now what would be nice is if we didn't have to create a new shortcut for every single file. Because right now it will only ever go to this file. But we can alter that by taking the input into the shortcut and using that for the path. So I'm going to take this here and remove it. Instead I'm going to right click or two finger click in here, insert variable, and then say shortcut input. This will add the receive input from action at the top. I'm going to click where it says images and 18 more, click select all, and then deselect all. So now all the check marks are gone. And I'm only going to select text. That's all I want. Text from nowhere, and if there's no input then stop and respond but no response. So it's going to take the text input and it's going to open whatever that is. So now we could only have one shortcut that can open any file. So the way to do that is we have to edit this link. So right now we have the link that goes name equals open file. Now we have to add after that an ampersand and then input equals text and then another ampersand and then text equals, and here's where we paste the path to the file. So now when I click here it should take me to that file. But now I can do something like this and create another link. In this case we'll choose a numbers file here and I'm going to do Option Command C to get the path to that and then go back into Pages. Let's edit this link and go to the part after text equals and paste in the path to that numbers file. Now this first link will work to open the Pages document. This one will work to open that numbers document. So we can now use that same shortcut and the same technique for any file that we have regular access to. It will open up PDFs, it will open up images, anything that you could normally open up by double clicking it in the Finder you can now open up by using a link in Pages or other apps. So for instance we could do this in Numbers. I can do link and then I can select the text in here. You have to select the text, not the cell itself. And then I can go to Format, Add Link, and you can see it's the same Command K. And then here I can paste in the shortcuts part of it all the way up to text equals. And after text equals we'll paste in that. Now when I click on the link, and the neat thing is in Numbers if you don't have the cell selected, you're not editing a cell, you can actually just click on the link. You don't get that little open or edit choice. Click on it. You can see it opens up the document and its default app, which in this case is TextEdit. But we can do even better than that in Numbers because Numbers has a function called hyperlink. So I'm going to go here in this cell and I'm going to create a formula by pressing the equals key on my keyboard and then typing hyperlink. And then hyperlink takes two parameters, a URL and link text. So for the URL I'm going to start off in quotes here and put that shortcuts URL scheme. Close the quotes, put an ampersand to concatenate something, and then include a link to the text in this cell. And then for link text I can just put link in this case. You can get a little fancier with yours. So now all I need to do is put a URL here to a file. So let's go in here to Finder and I'll select say this file here. I'm going to do Option Command C, go in here and then paste it into this cell here. So this link will now incorporate this value into it. And when I click on the link it will open that file. Better yet, I can copy and then paste and now I can change these to other things. So let's go back into the Finder here and find another file. Let's say another Numbers file. Option Command C, go into here, paste it in, and now when I click this link it will open up that document. So that hyperlink function comes in handy. If you have an inventory of important files in Numbers, you could easily just fill in the URLs to the files here and then have the cell next to them act as the button that you click to actually go to that file. If you want to do it for a whole bunch of files, for instance, let's select this one, let's do this one, let's do this one, and let's do this one here. I've got 4 of them. I can actually use Edit and then copy 4 items. Hold the Option key down. The same Option Command C copies all 4 items as path names. Now this is kind of strange because it doesn't work. You'd think then if I've got 4 path names, if I would paste into here, I'd get 4. And I don't. It only pastes the first one. But you can fix that just by bringing it into TextEdit first. So in a blank TextEdit document here, I've got it set to plain text, not rich text. And I paste, you can see I've got the 4 paths. I'll now select those 4 paths again and just running it through TextEdit changes it to really plain text. And I can paste and you can see how it pastes these 4 different paths here. So I can easily select a whole bunch of file paths and paste them in to Numbers. And then each of these links will work. If I click on this one, you can see it opens up that image in Preview. So I've got 2 more tips for you. One is that you can also set this to show you the file location rather than opening the file. So maybe you want to create a different shortcut or change the name of this one to Show File. And you just put a -R between open and the quotes that hold the path. And when you do that, that changes the shortcut. So now if I click on this, it actually opens up the Finder and it selects that file. I'm going to remove this, go back to just the regular open file thing to demonstrate one last tip. And that's that you could put a path to anything. Anything you would double click in the Finder should work. So that means that in the Finder you could actually go to your Applications folder and then select an application. I'll select Calculator here. Do the same Option Command and C and then put that as one of the links either in the Pages document by putting it in the actual link or here we're using that same hyperlink thing. So you've got this link here and guess what? You click it and it will open up the Calculator app. So you can use it as kind of an app launcher as well as a file opener. And I showed this in Pages and Numbers. It works in Keynote as well, which could be handy for going from presentation to presentation really quickly. Although Shortcuts also has a play presentation function. You may want to use that to actually really quickly go from one presentation to the other but have it automatically play. You don't have to just open it up first and then hit the play button. And you should be able to do this in any app that handles URLs. So not just Pages, Numbers, and Keynote but other types of documents, even calendar events, reminders, the Notes app, and so on. So it would be great to be able to do this without having to see the flash of the Shortcuts app running. It does work and it does solve the problem for most uses. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.